Hey everybody, welcome to Mental Health is a Verb. Dr. Jake here, and this video you're about to see is where I had an opportunity to have an informal interview with Dr. Karen White-Trevino. So please enjoy. Thank you. Hey everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. So today we have the pleasure and honor to have a guest with us, Dr. Karen White-Trevino.
Thank you.
And just in a since no one can do a better job of introducing another person other than themselves, can you just in a short splash introduce yourself?
Short splash. Okay. So I'm Karen White-Trevino, and I am a registered nurse. This is actually 2023 is my 40th anniversary in this amazing profession of nursing, and yeah, 40 years. And it's just so funny because you've caught me when I'm actually in Massachusetts visiting my mom and family members. So raised in New England, New Englander, but raised children in Texas and Florida. And actually, my husband and
Oh,
I now live in Hawaii for a couple
woo-hoo.
more years. Yeah, and then we'll return back to Florida where the grandchildren are and all. But yeah, so most of my career has been in various leadership type roles. I
Okay.
actually started, well, I mean, there's 40 years is a lot. There's a lot to pack in there, but my
Yes.
last, yeah, but my last years were really more leadership development, and I was an actual executive with a large company, HCA, and then so now I've been teaching for the past, actually August will be 5 years, teaching for the University of West Florida in the graduate program, specifically the leadership track.
Okay. Well, thank you. See, I knew it. I couldn't have surely delivered all that. So, okay, Dr. Karen White-Trevino, I'm going to ask you three two questions.
Okay.
Um, and then I'm going to do like a fun rapid fire. So
Okay.
the first question on my list is you are the president of our local Sigma chapter,
Mhm.
Upsilon Kappa, and
Yes.
Sigma is the International Honor Society of Nursing. So the first question I want to ask you is why Sigma? Why did you choose Sigma? What is it about Sigma?
Um, yeah, so what is it about Sigma? So I think when we first graduate as, so I have my doctoral in nursing, but when I got my bachelor's degree from the University of Rhode Island, I was in the nursing program, and so I was young, going from high school right to the bachelor's program there at URI. I really, I was kind of a student athlete too, and
Okay.
my grades were not as
What
good
was
as
your
they
sport?
soccer. I grew
Soccer.
up,
Okay.
yeah, I'm from New England, so
Okay.
I grew up on a soccer field, played played a lot of soccer, and then coached as I started raising children and all. So love soccer. So my grades, but my point was my grades weren't quite as high enough, my GPA, to make it into Sigma initially. And so I think that was always kind of one of those things that not so much regretted, because I would not have given up all my I love sports, I love team sports, and still I would be involved if I could, if my knees would have allowed me, which that is not happening. um, but and I think that as a leader, so I came into Sigma as a leader.
Okay.
Didn't realize that I could do that at that point in time. I think it was 2010 is when somebody had approached me about the ability to come into Sigma as a leader. And so I think in the back of my head, I always wondered about joining that professional organization. I did, I had always tried to be part of the state association wherever I lived. If I was in Texas, because I did spend some time in Texas. And then when I moved from Texas to Florida, I became a member of the Florida Nursing Association. So that was always an important association for me. But with Sigma, once I was given that opportunity and that aha moment, like, I can join as a leader.
Mm-hmm.
So then I wanted to do that. I love the global approach. There's so many different resources that
Yeah.
Sigma has to offer, and yeah, I just think that it was just a society, a part of the professional organization for nursing that I felt like was empowering to me, was something that I just always wanted to be part of. And I think more, the state association was wonderful from a state perspective, but Sigma
Yeah.
and the global perspective, and really having that desire for myself to be more global in understanding and learning and growing and developing. And then as I became a Sigma member, I don't think I appreciated all the different resources that were available to us as Sigma members. So that was always, that was something else that I enjoyed.
Okay. Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
Okay. Now, the next question.
sure.
What are three key influences that you believe made you the nurse you are today? And this, you can take this however you like it. It could be a person, it could be a book, it could be an event. So I've tried to word these questions kind of broadly, so that people can, whatever their take is on it. So what do you think?
Yeah, now you did give me this question. So, in true transparency, I've just been mulling this over, just like for 40 years. I've had a lot of influences in my career that have just been, so wonderful. And
And they don't, well, I
yeah,
think it's important to
yeah,
say these do not, if you had to pick three,
yeah,
I'm not asking you to pick your top three,
right, right.
but maybe on this given day, what are three things that bubble up to the top
Yeah,
of your mind that you could say, hey, these, most certainly shape the nurse
yep,
I am today.
yep. And I think so. I guess probably because I'm here in Massachusetts and also just had a birthday. So it's like a little
Oh,
bit of
well, happy belated
reminiscing,
birthday.
about, yeah, no thanks. When the birthdays come too, you're thinking back, you're reminiscing about your
Yeah.
life, and here visiting my, this is where I grew up in Massachusetts. And so, so when I think about this, I think I mentioned the team sports. So I was I
Yeah.
was I was lucky in that I was raised in New England. Title IX had just passed. I did play. You would ask what sport. I was lucky enough. I'm the oldest, and I had three younger brothers who were big, big hockey players. And I was just really blessed to live in this kind of an environment where, with Title IX, the passing of Title IX, it gave me opportunities. And so we played from the time I was 10 years old on team sports, specifically soccer. And I think that having this appreciation for teams and working in teams and
Yeah.
knowing that everybody brings strengths and weaknesses and different talents together, I think that I played team sports, like I said, all the way through college. Now at that time we were a club sport, but soccer was fairly new at URI at that time. And so, but we still traveled to Boston University, BC, BU, Northeastern, the Rhode Island colleges, because women's sports were just really getting going, specifically in soccer. And I think that, it just, that team atmosphere and really having that experience as a team player, I think that really helped mold me. I think because nursing is a team. We're a team.
A hundred
So, I
million
mean, not
percent.
only
Yeah.
within the profession, but then also all the other disciplines that have to join us,
Hmm.
to really, when we look at outcomes, specific outcomes that we're trying to improve, not only for us as a profession in nursing, but also for our patients and whatever patients we're trying to influence, it takes a team. And so I think that's important. I think the other thing that helped mold me is, so when I was at URI and getting my bachelor's degree, for me, I just always wanted to give, give, give. And in my mind, I was going to be part of the Peace Corps. That was just what I was doing. I'd already told my parents, I'm
Yeah.
going to be going abroad, joining the Peace Corps as soon as I get my degree, pass my boards. That's what I'm doing. Um, and they were not, they kept trying to persuade me to think about something else. But anyway, but that was what I was doing. But unfortunately, again, this is just life events. I did not pass the physical when I was joining the Peace Corps. They found some kind of a
I didn't know
blood.
there was a physical.
There was a physical, and my
Okay.
bleeding, my factor VIII was low. And so then that was a whole different conversation about why was the factor VIII low. And so I was risky. So because I
Uh,
was too risky, then a good friend of mine, I would clean to get some money when I was in college, the local
Yeah.
priest's house. And so he was telling me about this Catholic organization that was in the state of Texas that helped people in the Valley of Texas. And so for any listeners that are familiar with Texas, down in the Rio Grande Valley, so in the Brownsville area, Harlingen, Brownsville area, is where I ended up going. So they needed a nurse to volunteer a year. And so I had to learn Spanish. And growing up in Boston, and my mom's side of the family was Italian, and I would hear Italian. So Spanish actually came to me not easily, but I was able to acclimate pretty well as far as learning Spanish and to get me by in the Rio Grande Valley of Texas. So I was there a whole year with the nuns, and we did home health for the indigent, for the patients in need, mostly. The Mexican American population that was coming over, and there was cancer, diabetes, all different types of diagnoses. But it really helped. It took me out of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, where I was in school, and then threw me into an area where I really had to acclimate and understood what it was like to live in an environment where I had to speak a different language. I had to learn the culture, and I fell in love with the culture, and I just wanted to stay. So I stayed, and that's where I got my first, my folks would say real job, as far as in a hospital. So once I finished my volunteer work with the sisters and with the clients there, which was amazing. It was just an amazing learning experience for me. Then I did start working in a hospital there in the Valley and stayed in the Valley. And then ended up getting married, and then we eventually, through his job, moved to Florida, to Pensacola. So, but anyway, that was just very life-changing for me. I think first because I had this career path that was so definite in my mind, and it was just like, what do you mean I can't go to the piece? It was just, so it was a tough, in my mind, I was hitting rock bottom at that point, because that's what I felt like I was meant to do, to give. But then, I'm a spiritual person too. And I just feel like, this opportunity came up to go to the Valley, and I just learned so much, met so many amazing people. And then as the language started coming to me better, and I was more articulate in Spanish, I also found a soccer team down there, so played on a team.
That's cool.
I was the only Anglo on the team, and I just remember I had friends that I would say come, because at halftime that's the language. It's just they're speaking so fast that I need to understand what I'm supposed to be doing, because they would tell me, but my Spanish sometimes wasn't quite as good. And then at halftime, I just needed to know how they were going to adjust me and where I was going to be moving around as far as my positions. It was just so funny, but it was really cool because, I'm digressing, but, learning the sport, the fact that I already knew soccer from my years growing up in Boston and then at URI playing. So then when I ended up in the Valley of Texas, it was just like, it was a wonderful way also to bridge that cultural gap for me. And I just loved it. So I think that really helped mold me too. Now fast forward to now, it's, everybody's talking about, diversity, equity, inclusion, as we should, and trying to do what we can to be more inclusive. And I think that experience really helped me living, in that world, and acclimating, I think, was a learning experience that just really helped me get molded and really understanding and appreciating what it means to be inclusive and equitable. And I'm not perfect by any sense, and we still have more to learn as a nursing profession, as we hear. There's toolboxes out there that we're all using, but I think for me, as far as what molded me, that was big for me. And I think the last thing really is just more general, in that I had some, we didn't use the word mentors back then. 40 years in the profession, we didn't, people didn't say, I'm going to be a mentor. We just didn't use that word. But now thinking back, there were so many nurse mentors, more in the leadership realm for me that I could really look up to and say, wow, there's qualities in that leader that
Mm-hmm.
really speak to who I am as a person, and that I could then kind of integrate into my style of leading. And so I think just through 40 years of growth and maturing as a nurse, and it takes years to do that. I think,
Mm-hmm.
did I hit rock bottom so many times? Yes, I did. But there were always mentors around. I think just finding those mentors that speak to you, speak to your heart. And I think just different mentors, there's probably too many to even name, that really helped mold who I was,
Well,
really.
yeah, in 40 years
40
too, but
years. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Well, I can see actually parallels in these three things that you've mentioned. Nursing being itself a team sport,
Yeah.
you were already drawn to, like when you started playing soccer, that
Right.
was most
Right.
certainly team oriented.
Yep.
And then lastly, this mentorship, which we know is crucial in
Yep.
nursing. So
Yep.
team, 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 team. Now, this
Yes.
last question is going to be a series of rapid fire.
Okay,
Now
this is
we're
the
going to
rapid
put a
fire.
twist on this. You only have 5 seconds to answer these questions. Okay. I actually heard this on the radio the other day where they enacted a 5-second rule to these rapid fire.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
So here we go. Now, the first one is, what is your guilty pleasure? 5.
Chocolate, dark chocolate, dark chocolate. Love it.
Okay.
Love dark. Oh, ice cream. Well, okay, I'll go with dark chocolate. Dark chocolate. Ice
Okay.
cream.
Okay. Number 2. What was your favorite subject in school?
Science.
Okay.
I loved the sciences. Love science.
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm wearing new contacts and I'm like, what does this say? And I'm right at that age now, talking about over
Yeah,
40 years. I just
yeah.
had a birthday not too long ago as well, and found out, hey, guess what, folks? I need progressives. I need that. So I'm like, my eyes are straining here. Number 3, what is your favorite food? 5, 4, 3.
Seafood. I love seafood.
There's nothing like this time element, is there?
Oh my gosh, the time element stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, seafood. I love any kind of seafood.
All right.
Lobster.
Now, technically, I see I wrote down 6 questions. So the next
Okay.
one is, what is your favorite song right now? 5, 4.
Favorite song right now, Willow. Joan Armour Trading, Willow.
Okay. I'm a huge music fan. And I haven't heard of that. So that'll be on my list.
Ah, Joan,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, the last question is probably my favorite. And it is, what is your go-to activity for self-care / your mental health?
Ooh. Well, it's yoga, but it's also in nature. I guess nature. I love yoga, but nature, being in
Okay.
nature, walking in, being in. It's just something about being in nature.
Okay.
Whether you can hike or not, but I do love yoga too. Oh, I know.
All right.
Sorry.
You heard it, folks. This is a one-on-one take with Dr. Karen White-Trevino, and a plug for her, you guys. If you haven't checked out her YouTube channel, what is the title of your YouTube channel again?
So I titled it Mentoring Caritas. So Caritas is a combination of caring, healing, love together. And so for me at this part of my career, mentoring people, I'm just using the language, Dr. Jean Watson is somebody that I work with, and using her theory, and we've got to use the language that we want. And I'm actually using the language, mentoring Caritas. So I have a YouTube channel, and then created also a website for all free resources for anyone, nursing in particular, nurses, but also anybody. It's available too, but there is a free YouTube channel with snippets of nature and some yoga, and then you can also access my website with other free resources there.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
for
Now, do
that.
I have your permission to share these resources?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us, Dr. Karen White-Trevino, and we'll be checking in with you again later. See you later.
Thank you. All right, take care, everyone. Thank you.